and root cause analysis, what we would call that now. I didn't know what it was called at the time, but that's what I started to do. And so we started to make changes in the business. Any roadblocks, we could see the same things coming up again and again as to why people weren't paying. And we started to make changes in the business. That was very successful. So more cash flow, happier customers, turnaround time quicker. So much so that the guy that ran that business at the time asked me would I do the same in his brother's business. So I went in there and I did the same. And that was the start of my career. I didn't grow up.
Hello everybody, Gavin, Coyle, I'm The Gaffer, back again, and the great guests just keep on coming. A lady from Ireland is with us today. Her name is Sharon Farrell, and she's the Credit and Risk Management and Collections CEO. A very important topic. Obviously, the listeners and viewers would resonate with the fact that we're trying to help the small to medium enterprise construction owners manage their cash, collect their cash, and risk manage their business in such a way that they're not going to fail, or that they're on top of their business and they have a sustainable model for the future. Sharon's in the unique position where she has the expertise, she has the smarts, and she has the people to help you do that. And I'm going to pick her brains left, right, and centre today to try and get all the nuggets of good information of how you can manage your business in construction in terms of money. Sharon, welcome to I'm The Gaffer. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.
Whereabouts are you in Ireland?
We are based in Kildare. I'm originally from Dublin, you can tell by my accent, for those of the listeners that are Irish. So I am from Dublin and our business is based in Kildare. So geographically, it's ideal. We're in the middle of Ireland and on all the major roads in and out. So we've clients all over Ireland. So it's just geographically perfect.
But you're also in the UK, I believe, as well.
We're in the UK. We have opened our doors in the UK. So we did our first intertrade visit there. So we're opening a UK company. We will have staff based there. It'll still be under the same trading name as Face Credit Consultancy, but we're just opening there. I feel that we can really add value in the UK market because we're unique in our approach. Historically, it was just debt collection agencies. So we sit in between both, where we really partner with our clients and we help them to develop internal processes and procedures so that they don't need to go to a debt collection agency.
I'm looking forward to getting into that. But give us some background about yourself, Sharon. Look, where did it all begin for you? I know that you've had some really interesting positions in your career, so maybe just give us some background.
Okay, so in my early 20s, I was training to be an accountant. And I was working in a small company. And I think for anybody listening, maybe who isn't even in the construction industry or is, but the best place to start your career is in an SME because you get exposed to so many different aspects of the business and you understand the business as a whole. Generally in bigger companies, which I've worked in, you get pigeonholed into one role and that's all that you do. So I started in the SME sector and I was training to be an accountant, and I was working in a company where we were looking at the debtors ledger. And I said, I saw that guy in at the trade counter and we gave him additional products. And I looked through the list and I just volunteered my services to phone them all. And I had a unique way, I suppose. I had a background in hospitality when I was a teenager. I worked in pubs and clubs in Dublin. And I just used the same kind of charm and to talk to people. And I got paid and the money started to come in, and then I started to dive down and look at why the reasons that people weren't paying and root cause analysis, what we would call that now. I didn't know what it was called at the time, but that's what I started to do. And so we started to make changes in the business. Any roadblocks, we could see the same things coming up again and again as to why people weren't paying. And we started to make changes in the business. That was very successful. So more cash flow, happier customers, turnaround time quicker. So much so that the guy that ran that business at the time asked me would I do the same in his brother's business. So I went in there and I did the same. And that was the start of my career. I didn't grow up, thinking that I was going to work in the credit industry collecting outstanding invoices, but that's how it started. And then I went to work on in multinationals. I worked in Diageo, Nestlé and in Rentokil. And so they're all multinationals. And then I got exposure to different countries and how things are done differently in other countries. And because of the processes, the procedures that I put in place, I was sent throughout Europe to train other teams on best practices on what we were doing here in Ireland and how we made such dramatic improvements to the credit management system. And cash is king, as we all know. So I worked there for 12 years, and I just decided that I could see that there was a gap in the market for the SME sector. And that was really where my heart was, because I knew so many businesses fail because of poor cash flow and not understanding the importance of getting our invoices out and cash in and managing that. So I started up Face Credit in 2019, and that was the start of my new journey.
Brilliant. I love it. I think, having the SME experience really does throw you into the fire, doesn't it? Like in terms of the corporate stuff. Like the corporate stuff, you can fail a bit and you can kind of pick yourself back up, but there's no real margin for failure in the SME side of things.
No, they've deep pockets. And I suppose why I was successful in the multinational sector was because I applied the same mindset that I did in an SME, that every penny counts. The €100, the 150, the 10 million, every penny counted. And I applied this, I understood that working in an SME and a smaller business that, cash back into the business resulted in business growth, resulted in everybody getting paid, resulted in the business staying afloat. And I just applied that same logic in the multinational sector. And it worked. It was successful. It's the same thing, just on a larger scale.
So obviously there's a massive business opportunity as well. So you're doing it for the good of the business and all the different industries, not just construction. But I would imagine there's plenty of scope for the market of what you offer.
There is, and I think when people open up their mind to having an expert doing this in their business, like a lot of SMEs can't afford to have a full-time, credit manager in the business with 25, 30 years experience. But to have somebody outsourced to come in, look at your business, look at what you're doing, to have those expertise, for some of our clients have us 4 hours a week, some 4 hours a month, some 20 hours, it depends. Just to have that expertise in your business, I could see that there was a market for it, and there is, because money is the lifeblood of every business. Cash flow, it is. Without money, you're not just going to survive. So it's definitely a need in every single business, particularly in construction.
Did you finish your qualification in accountancy?
No, I never did. I never finished it. And you know what? I don't regret it, because when I look at accountants, their mindset changes. They have a niche and they look after that. But I think where I really developed my skills then was in cash flow management and in this aspect, and learned on the job. So this, I created a niche and a career for myself in this. So I didn't know. So I'm part qualified.
But in terms of, tell me the size of the business, how many staff,
what we have now in Face Credit. So there's 9 of us now. We're 6 years in business this year. And 9 of us. So it's going really, really well. And that's why we looked at the UK market. So I think there's plenty of opportunity there to help other businesses in the UK market. I think, there's a need for what we're doing. So it's really to grow out both at the same time.
And are you tracking and trending any sort of statistics in terms of the overall market for the different sectors? Do you...
Definitely for the different sectors, we're looking at trends, we're looking at different processes and procedures that are needed. We are looking, they're probably better in the UK at tracking businesses in real time as to how successful they are, less so in Ireland. So we're building a database on customers who would, maybe problem customers or who are difficult to deal with. But equally, what we're looking at, more than the stats, is the internal process and procedures that you need to deal with customer A, B, C. So certain type of sectors need a different process for you to deal with them. For instance, you might need to upload invoices onto a portal in a certain way. So SMEs may not understand what that process is. And because they're not following it, they don't get paid and they don't understand why. So there can be a delay, and that can take 9 months before. But 9 months of an unpaid large invoice will kill a business. So because we're working with so many different sectors and so many different companies, we're understanding what those processes and procedures are so that we can bring that expertise to our clients and say, nah, this is how you need to do this. This is how this customer needs to be dealt with. This is how you need to send that invoice. This is the department that you need to talk to. This is where you get your purchase order number. This is where you make sure it's due your end, whatever it is. So all of that intel, whereas big companies have time, they can wait 9 months, smaller companies can't. So what we're building is really the intel around how do we deal with customers and how do we get paid faster, as well as who are the difficult ones and who are the ones that, we need to tie in our contracts with, make sure that we're covered.
So walk me through, if, I'm Gavin Coyle, the roofer, and I contact you. Like, do you do some sort of a gap analysis, or talk me through the process?
Okay, so I would talk to you through your business, what it is you do, your customer portfolio, what you offer to them, how you sell to them. So we would really go back to what your prospecting is even like. So how do you prospect a client? Are you doing any risk assessment before you take on a new client? Are you doing things like getting payment up front? Do you have a contract? Do you have a service level agreement? So we're finding out all of that information. We'll then jot down what the gaps are. Say, okay, you need to have X, Y, and Z. You don't have that. All the way through to talk me through to when you send your first invoice, when you arrive on site, what happens, so that we really understand your business. So it doesn't feel like I'm an outsourced agency. I'm working for you, with you, to partner with you. So when I phone your clients, when we ask for the money, we sound, look, feel exactly like you. So it's not a disjointed experience for your customer. And we also understand what should be delivered. So if somebody says, listen, they arrived on site X, Y, and Z, we know what should happen when somebody arrives on site. We know the way the invoice should have went out. So we can ask and answer any questions that the client may have for the reasons that they're not paying. So we do a good bit of due diligence before we onboard any client. It's not like just come on with us. We do the due diligence to find out where the gaps are, how you communicate, what your product or service is. And we have all that information with the agent that will be working with any one of our clients before we roll out, so that when we hit the ground, we're hitting the ground running. And then we can go back to you and say, right, this is what you're missing. This is what we suggest you do.
So what's the common thread that you see when you go in the early days, that everybody's kind of making the same mistake? What is that?
So say for the really small one-man bands, they're not very clear about what they're delivering. They don't have a contract in place. They haven't really spoken about money. They've sort of skirted around it, and they haven't been very clear about what their expectation for payment is. If they're inexperienced, that's what I would see. So for us to come on board and we say, look, we're going to ring as your accounts department, we can then deal with that. So he or she doesn't have to. For the bigger businesses, again, it can be contracts, and it can be not asking the right questions at the point of sale. So if it's a smaller business doing business with a big business, they don't even know what to ask around what is the exact legal entity? Who am I dealing with? Do I need a purchase order number? Who is the person in accounts that I need to liaise with? Who signs off on the invoice before it goes to that person? For construction, we would have, retention. Is there retention on it? All of that. What does the contract look like? When do we expect to get payment? Do I need a payment cert at each point of the building? Who signs off on that payment cert? Do we have direct contact with them? What's his email address? What's his phone number or her phone number? So gathering all of that information, that sounds like a lot. And believe me, it is if you don't have it and you're waiting for money. So gathering all that information is really important at the point of sale, because we're all attracted to the shiny sale, the money. We're so excited to be doing business. But these little things don't get asked because people are afraid, and sometimes don't even know what to ask. So they're the things that I see. It's just a little bit of extra time at the point of sale to get the information so that it's easier then when you want to get paid, essentially.
And do you have some sort of like traffic light system where it's kind of, we're giving somebody a bit of a chance to pay, now it's going into an amber where it's kind of like, hold on a minute, you're still not really listening to us. And now we're going into a red where it's kind of, alarm bells. CEO needs to step in here, or managing director?
Yeah, so what I would say is if somebody at the point of sale is arguing with you over money or giving you a PO, you can be guaranteed that they're going to argue when you send that invoice. So that's your red flag straight away. So if they're wishy-washy, oh, I'll get it to you, you are going to have a problem with them. If they're trying to kick the can down the road and say, look, we'll talk about that later. Don't be ballyragged into leaving it. Some people are experts. This is how they make money. They'll maybe have a price of 200 grand, maybe €1,000,000. But they're thinking, I'm really going to get 800 out of this person, because they kick it down the road so much. You're so desperate for the money that in the end they say, we'll give you 800 of the million, and you take it because you need the money. And they write off the 200,000. So the point of sale, look for those red flags, take a breath, really look at what they're saying, and don't allow them to ballyrag you into a situation where you don't have very clear guidelines around price, payment terms, what that looks like, retention, payment certs. All of that information should be given to you at the point of sale. And if it isn't, you'd be I would say, don't move forward, particularly if it's big money. Because for a small business, it will kill you.
And what about, sorry to cut across you, what about capacity? Do you talk to your clients about capacity and about, well, why are you taking on that extra job? You really don't have the capacity to deliver that job from a financial resources point of view, and from a human performance point of view. Do you get into that sort of discussion with your owners?
So there's some clients that we would have a very close relationship with, and we understand their business. Some of them may not want to tell us or our input around that, but I would always say to somebody cash flow is the killer of all businesses. It helps you grow, but it can be the killer. So if something is going to put you under serious financial pressure, that if they don't pay that invoice bang on time, that you can't pay your suppliers or staff, you really want to look at sourcing cash somewhere else to support that job or that project. Because believe me, it's not worth the sleepless nights, and it's not worth the stress that it's going to put you under. So take a step back. I would always say it, and look, 3 months down the line, if they didn't pay this invoice, what is that going to look like for your business? If somebody doesn't show up on site, one of your lads is out sick, what is that? Can you deliver what you promised? And look at your contract. So if your contract says that we're going to have X, Y, and Z done by the 4th week, and one of your lads is out sick, and that can't be delivered, what's that going to look like? So be very careful about, growth, yes, and risk, but do a risk analysis of all of that. My cash flow, if I don't get paid, and the capacity of my business and my manpower to actually deliver what they're asking me to deliver. If you sign a contract, you're signing in to say that I can do this. Your person that you're dealing with, your client, is expecting you to run a business that runs well, that is going to honor what you said you can honor. So do your homework, and don't be afraid to negotiate terms. Don't be afraid to negotiate what's going to suit your business, and be honest. But be honest with yourself. Because I see people just putting themselves under too much pressure, 2 or 3 jobs on the go, and they're not getting it done. So generally, we don't talk about manpower, but if I have a very close relationship with them, I would, and I'd help them manage that finance piece to say, what would that look like for them?
Hi guys, as you're enjoying this podcast, I just wanted to take a few seconds to let you know about my company, Coyle Group. We're not just another safety recruitment agency. We're your partners in building a safer future. With over 25 years of experience and more than 1 million hours of safety work completed, our mission is clear. Provide top-tier health and safety contractors tailored to the unique needs of your project. We also carry out on-site construction audits. From wind energy to power stations, utilities and engineering projects, our global reach and specialised expertise ensures your operations are not just compliant, but exemplary. For more information on how ensuring safety and sustainability of your products using our team of HSE contractors, visit coyle-group.com or click on the show notes or video description now. I've also put a booking link into the description for you to click and have a one-to-one conversation with me. Now, back to the podcast. Enjoy and see you soon.
And in terms of the P&L and the balance sheet and it's still mind-boggling for me that people don't have monthly management accounts. I know that's a CFO type service, but how do you fit in with that conversation?
Really, where I would give them guidance is I'd say, what should they be looking at operationally daily? So there's no point looking at your P&L at the end of the month and you see then there's a hole and you've made a loss. So the cash flow forecast for us is where we really help our clients see into the future. So how much money, if we're looking, how much money is due in? And recently we've started to look at the purchase side and how much money is due out. So so what we would say one of our clients there, we're in March, we're building out his cash flow forecast into June. So if there's going to be a dip or if somebody isn't going to pay on time, at least you know now so that you can put a plan in place in your business to help you out in that time. So it's looking ahead into the future. So the P&L is the accountants. And that's what I mean. That's where I think I'm glad that I didn't finish that, because this is something different. This is the daily operation of, is somebody in our business working consistently on getting money in, sending invoices out, chasing down that payment? Is somebody else looking at what's due to be paid out? Is somebody negotiating with our suppliers? If there is going to be a dip in the middle of April, to talk to our suppliers and say, look, can we have an extra 15, 20 days credit, because we know there's going to be a dip then. All of that builds credibility with you and your suppliers, because you're going to them before they have to come to you. And 9 times out of 10, you can negotiate, explain your situation. We're going to have a dip. And it's really that day-to-day management that helps the P&L at the end of every month. So it's looking at the processes that we have in our business that make sure we're managing our cash flow every single day, not just looking at the end of the month at our management accountants and our management accounts and realizing we have a loss. So it's the daily operational side is where we really add the value.
I'm interested to hear the differences between the different industries. So, for example, the hospitality industry and the VAT, and how that, is a major sort of breaker of the industry in terms of the food cost, and then obviously, the whole model of hospitality against other industries. You've got a good sort of landscape view of it. Where does construction stand in terms of risk and reward, if you like, between the different industries?
So if you take hospitality, that's like very fast moving, money in, money out, but the margins are probably low because the cost of staffing, I think, has gone through the roof. So they have to manage their margins, their waste, their everything is so they don't have a big job that's going to come in that's going to kind of save them and cover them for the rest of the year. So they have to manage what they're doing every single day, and it's a very tough industry. Everything can impact them. So for them, that's difficult. That's all about watching their margin. So where something can be brought down in VAT, that can just reduce their costs and increase their margin, and that's something simple like that can keep them afloat. So for them, that's always a risky business. And I know for credit insurance, a lot of them don't deal with hospitality. They won't insure debt for hospitality at all because it's so volatile and it's so unpredictable. I know the pandemic had a massive impact on them in particular, and it will take them a long time to recover. For me, the VAT rate, they should come under tourism in any country, because they're actually what helps us to bring tourists into our country to spend money. So for me, they should really be protected. And it's an experience when people come in that they have a nice hotel, that they have nice restaurants and bars and clubs to eat and drink in. So that's where I think they should be protected, but that's just a personal view. Construction, again, you can have one big job that's profitable, that will save your business. But for me, I suppose what I would look at is it's managing the profit on it. It's really taking an overview, and a lot of SMEs really look at their P&L as a whole, but I would look at each job and make sure that we're profitable on each job that we're doing. That's the key to success. You might have one job that's a loss leader, fair enough, but if you have 5 that's going to hurt your business. And you can't be relying on one big job to help you grow. So it's really doing a cost analysis on each job that you're doing. Take everything into account, the labor costs, the suppliers, and they should be matched to each job. So every time we buy something, I don't care if it's a screw or a nail or whatever we're buying, that should be going against a job so that we can do a cost analysis. Was that job profitable? And then you can start to look at your business and say, which jobs suit us? Which jobs are we really making money on? You can look at it, your 10 million euro job. You might make nothing on that and lose money. So you really have to put the ego to one side and start being real about money and where are we making money. And when you focus on that, then the rest will fall into play.
Very good. And what about credit cards? What's your viewpoint on company credit cards? And
only use them if you're going to pay for them. Don't use to buy supplier stuff on your credit card. Please stop doing that. It's the most expensive credit you can have. It's even more expensive than your overdraft. So that is just, I'm going to use that now and I'm going to pay for it at the end of the month. Set up credit accounts. Go in, talk to people, ask for your 30 or 60 days credit terms. And that's the way you should learn to do business. And if you're using your credit card, it's just creating bad habits in your business.
No, 100%, because I know plenty of evidence of builders going into hardwares and builders providers and just credit card just comes straight out across the table, and it's kind of like, and they make the claim that, no, I'm not big enough to get terms and conditions. Do you go in and sort of fight the good fight for them to try and get a deal for them with the builders providers, or is that a service you offer?
If we were doing their payable side, we would, but definitely if they're the owner, set up the credit account. And like, if you have a company like us in the background that's able to help you fill out the application form, get it in, that we're honouring what you're doing. So if your credit terms are 60 days, make sure you're paying them on 60 days. And then when you need the favours, when you looking at your cash flow, you're going to have a dip, it's easier to pick up the phone with your supplier and say, look, we're going to have a dip. You've been dealing with me for 6 or 8 months. Is there any way we could extend out our credit terms? You're in a much better negotiating position than them ringing you and you're avoiding the call and then you're just hoping that they let you away with it. So being open, honest and transparent, but ask them for credit, ask them for the terms, and make sure that the terms you're asking are the terms that are in line with what you're giving your clients. So if I'm giving my clients 30 days, I want 45 from my supplier. It just gives me a little bit of wriggle room.
Brilliant. And what about your viewpoint on who should have a credit card, and whether you're going to have a credit card, but like who should be operating a credit card? Because you see people and it's randomly just different guys or different people in the organization have access to a credit card. There's no real control on it. Like this, I just can't get over it. Like that people are just handing out credit cards like they're sweets. Don't worry about it. Go down to the local hardware and get the hammer or whatever it is.
That's where I would say I wouldn't give it to anybody, right? So in my business, I have one person that has the credit card. I know what that person buys. They have a limit. I see when the receipts come in. So I have full control over that. That's your money. Okay. But even for me, when I look at my business, I don't see it as my money. I feel that my job in my business, even though I'm the founder, is to make sure that it runs like a proper business. So that people just can't take money out of the business and they can't spend money in my business as if it was mine. It's not mine, it's the business's money. So look at it like that. And every penny that's spent is off your bottom line. So that's where I'm saying, if I'm buying a hammer, a nail, a screw, what job do I need them for and where are we costing that? So that's just profit eaten into my profit. So I have to make sure that that's accounted for. The credit card, if you have a credit account set up, you're not going to need credit cards. So the guys or the girls are going to go in with a purchase order number, and that purchase order number is relating to a job and they don't need a credit card. And then we see every invoice that comes back in. So they can't just buy something randomly. Like I actually saw one that somebody bought a television for their house and it was picked up, but it was bought on a company credit card.
Yeah, no, we've seen coffee machines and everything, seen it all. And
so Yeah. Look, most people are trustworthy, but if you're too loose, you're just leaving it wide open.
Yeah, I think there's a need for it, but again, as you say, the credit cards equal debt, and are you how are you with debt? And I suppose that's the other. Do you have a conversation with the owner, with the principals, about their risk appetite, and is that part of your conversation on the way in that we spoke about at the start of the podcast?
Yeah. So really, what I would say to everybody first is, if you're buying something or giving something on credit, it costs money. Credit card have interest rates. Overdraft have interest rates. So if you're not managing your cash flow properly and you're tapping into an overdraft, that's costing your business money, maybe because somebody isn't paying you on time. So understanding that, the banks make money off you and the lending institutions make money off you if you're using their facility for credit. Equally, when you give your clients credit, know that you're giving to them generally that for free. So if they're going 60, 90, 120 days, they're using you as a bank. And they're avoiding and they're forcing you maybe to tap into your overdraft, which is costing your business money, which means you're eating into your profit. So know that and go in with that mindset all the time. So it's great to give our clients credit. It's brilliant. But look at why we're doing it, look at how we're doing it, and understand the risk to our business if we're not paid on time. And that's going to eat into our profit. So go in with that mindset all of the time. Would I lend this person 100 grand? That's exactly what you have to think. Because when you invoice them and you're not getting paid up front, that is what you're doing. Particularly if it's a service, you cannot take it back. If it's a product and I'm selling you an iPhone, I own this if I have retention and title over this until you pay me. But if I've bricks and mortar gone down or foundations poured or whatever it is, I can't dig up that foundation. I'm still at the loss of the money. So really look at it like that. Don't get too excited. Look at it like, okay, until that money's in my bank, this actually means nothing. I've made nothing and it's a cost to my business until I get paid. So I always say that to everybody, and you have to open your eyes and look at it like that, because that is what it really is.
Yeah, it's still beyond me how people rely on it, and it's still beyond me how people don't have control of credit cards. What about the collecting of cash from your business point of view?
Okay, so this is a problem. It's a problem. It's why I have a business. People don't like to do it. Smaller business, if I'm doing the selling to you and I've negotiated a contract and I've negotiated the price, and then I want to ask you for money, you're wearing two hats there. So it is a difficult conversation. It's an easier conversation if we have done all the due diligence that we spoke at the point of sale. So if I've already spoken to you about what my expectations are, we've negotiated when I'm going to get paid, the way I like to get paid, generally it's directly into the bank. Sometimes it's a link, but generally it's money into the bank. So if we've already had that conversation and I've been very clear about my expectations to you, it's much easier for me to pick up the phone if you haven't paid. If we never have spoken about that, now I have a double problem, because I haven't said to you what my expectations are. I haven't outlined how I like to be paid. And then there can be ambiguity around what you thought and what I meant. And now we're in negotiation where we shouldn't be. And that's a much more difficult conversation to have. What we do is we get in between the client and their client. So we're not emotionally involved. So I'm not already upset. So we've a calmer, we do this every single day. So for me to pick up the phone and ask anybody, it's just a different conversation, and we can overcome those objections. We already understand how our clients do business, what their product and service is, so we can answer any maybe barriers that they have for payment, and we're helping them to get it set up. But it's that piece of asking for money. Let's even bring it back, sending out the invoice on time. Please, please, please don't leave that too late. Because if you're sending the invoice out late, that means if your payment terms are 30 days, I don't care if you're backdating it 2 weeks, they didn't get the invoice. So get your invoice out on time. Have the conversation at the point of sale about what your expectations are, and straight away pick up the phone and ask. Have the conversation. When am I going to get paid? Do you have a copy of that invoice? Everything look okay for payment? Even if it's not due yet, have that conversation early. That way we have no, frights, I suppose. Nothing's going to happen where they're going to say, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Now it doesn't have a PO. I don't have your bank details. You need to get set up as a vendor. The list is as long as my arm of things. And it might be genuine. It might be the red tape that's in there. But you as the SME, the small business, you as the business owner that needs that money to pay the lads, it feels like they're just kicking the can down the road. So the due diligence in the beginning is the most important thing.
And what about at what point do you go back to the principle of the business and go, look, you can spend more time on this of us chasing these guys, but at this stage it's a lost cause. Like when, how do you manage that conversation or communication?
So as I said, we'd be there from the beginning, but if we're not, as soon as the invoice goes out, we will be liaising with that person. We I suppose have feedback calls with our clients once a week. So if I didn't manage to reach somebody, I'd red flag that immediately and say, look, I've rang 3 times now, they haven't answered me back. We're not worried yet, but just so you know, so that I'm not leaving it too late before I alert them. They might at that point say, okay, just let me give somebody a ring, or this is the number you need to contact, or try this other person in the business. So I wouldn't leave it 30 days. I'm talking days before we're going back, particularly if you have a lot of lads on site or if job is in the middle of, because if we're not getting paid now, we're wasting our money and energy to send more lads in if we're not getting paid for what we've done so far. So it's days. We're daily giving feedback. We have WhatsApp groups set up for our clients. If they're on site, I'll send them a voice note to say, didn't get him or did get him. That money should be in the bank today. So it's that level of detail that we go to, because that's what SMEs need. The multinationals can cope with a month-end report. They need it. Like a lot of our clients, we give a daily update. This is what money's due in next week. Absolutely every day they know, where we are, what we're doing, what money is due in. They'll come back to me and say, yeah, it hit, or no, it didn't get back onto them, or they paid half. So it's that level of communication. It really feels like we're part of their business. And I make sure, and I built the model that it looks and feels like that for them.
That's brilliant. I love to hear that. That's like, I suppose that will be a differentiator between you and probably any competitors, that sort of level of service. Communicate. That's where the communication side of things is the one that I see where that all breaks down. As you said earlier on, she said, he said, nothing in writing, and then it becomes a toxic relationship where people put up the barriers and the trust is gone, and and then 100%, and then everybody's out the gap, and then everybody's sending up the legals, and it's not good.
And legal side of it, just sorry to cut across, is very expensive. Very expensive and very time consuming and very stressful. So if you can avoid that, do.
Yeah. Tell me, give me an insight of what the future holds for your business. Like where are you going to go with this?
I think where I see the business is, look, we're launching in the UK now. We have a few clients, already. And I really want to change the face of what debt management and credit management looks like. So what we spoke about there is it should be ethical, it should be professional, it should be, done in a way where all parties win. So that's what I really am focused on. I think in a world of AI, people to people, having conversations, picking up the phone, that we're talking about money, not just to put an account and stop with no conversation, real negotiations, that everybody wins. And I think we will use AI tools that will help us manage, but I am very strong on picking up the phone and having a conversation, face-to-face meeting, Teams meeting, Zoom meeting, where we can be heard and we can listen to what other parties are saying. The future of credit management and debt management for me is that's the way it should be.
And is your model that, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, Sharon, but is your model that you advise your clients to build your pricing into their margins so that it allows that everybody this win-win approach, as opposed to, well, it's just an additional overhead service here? Or how does that conversation happen?
People will always need credit controllers in their business they have, so people to manage their money. Outsourcing it so rather than having it somebody in-house, they outsource it to a company like us, and us ideally, that bring expertise into their business. But we don't only offer an outsourced service. We also offer service where we will train their staff on best practices if they want to keep it in-house. Have a look at their processes and procedures, but particularly around those soft negotiation skills. So what do they say when they pick up the phone? You may have a very competent person in your business that just doesn't know how to pick up the phone and ask for the money. So we will do some training on that. So it's not of like, come with us and you can never get out of it. And so I think that's where we'll add the value. So we pay for ourselves because it's money directly back into their bank. It's cheaper than having their credit card use, their overdraft, and going to a solicitor. So the return on investment is immediate, but also we don't hold our clients to ransom. We've a couple of clients that want to take it back in-house, but we train their staff. We document all the procedures and processes that we've built for them, and we hand that back, and we wish them well and let them off then to utilize what we've shown them in their business. So that's how I believe business should be done.
Yeah, and they'll refer you to somebody else, and there'll be other people that will hear those great success stories. And, well, what are you doing about credit control? Well, I use Sharon. And, it's a maturity thing as well, I think, with people. And, my own business is safety, and we have that sort of tough conversations with people is that they don't get on board with the safety message in an early stage. We try and help them and stuff like that. And then once they start maturing, then they kind of, we'll take on our own health and safety profession. Well, that's fine. Let's train that person. Let's nurture that person. Let that person, be the forefront of all the good work that you've done because you've set that blueprint for them. So it's a credit to you for saying that. Pardon the pun.
No, but it's important, and I would never hold any client to ransom that they couldn't leave us or that they felt that they couldn't. So for me, it's a flow. Business is all about flow, like cash flow. It's all about, there's plenty of business out there for everybody. And I really believe, yes, I'm in business to make money, of course. But I'm in business, to build good relationships and to help that SME sector to thrive. And we're a really big part of the Irish economy and the UK economy. And we're important to, help the economy grow and create jobs and do something different. So for me, to have an ethical business that does business the way I believe business should be done is very important.
And tell me, I'm going to throw a couple of curve balls at you before we finish up today, but knowing what you know now, Sharon Farrell, what would you do different? And it doesn't have to be business.
What would I do different? Looking back on my life, I suppose in business, I would move faster. I was a little bit slow because quality is very important to me. I would have definitely moved faster, taken on staff quicker, and been willing to grow. Because I think at one point I had my foot on the brake and the accelerator at the same time. So I would probably do that differently. Yeah. Back myself more.
A favourite destination, holiday destination, and why?
Italy, nice weather, good food, lovely people. So that's my favourite holiday destination. Yeah, it's relaxed.
What about something about Sharon Farrell that not many people will put their finger on and go, I didn't know that about Sharon?
I suppose when I tell people I really like to bake bread, they're surprised. They say I don't look like the bread bacon type. So I do, and it really helps me relax. So if I don't sleep at night, because sometimes I don't, I'll come down and bake bread. And so, yeah, not a lot of people know that, but there you go. Martha Stewart.
Martha Stewart, yeah, without the jail, obviously, without the jail. Favourite book or movie, or both?
I read a book that really helped me in business. It's called The E-Myth. And it really talks about, and I think everybody should read it that's starting your entrepreneurial journey or if you're in business, because it really helps you understand. It kind of gives you a concept of the McDonald's approach. So building something that's scalable. And that's the key to success. So I read that book and it was really, really helpful. And sometimes I go back and read it again because it gives you practical advice on what to do, not just a build a bulletproof mindset book. It actually gives you practical advice on what the McDonald's thing looks like, how they built that they could just create lift and shift, lift and shift, lift and shift. And in reality, that was how I was able to open the UK business because I incorporated a lot of what I learned in that book into my business, and it really did help.
Sharon, it's been amazing talking to you today. I have to say, you're full of energy and you're full of ambition, and no doubt it won't be just UK that you stop at, because it's a worldwide problem. We have people from all around the world on this podcast, and this is not unique to Ireland and the UK, and it's one of the biggest risks, if not the biggest risk, to any business. So well done on servicing that market and that need, and we wish you well, and we'd love to have you back on the podcast in the future, obviously.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
If people want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
LinkedIn. So look me up on LinkedIn, Sharon Farrell. Instagram, we are Face Credit Consultancy on Instagram, but LinkedIn is my main platform. And also look at our website, facecredit.ie and facecredit.co.uk.
We'll put the links in the show notes. Sharon, all the best, and we'll talk to you again in the future. Thank you very much.
Hello, gaffers. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. We love every one of the guests that we have, but in order to bring on more great guests, we'd love to build a channel with you. So hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and let's create a really great community where we bring in better and better guests for you to deliver great content and great pieces of information that you can take back into your business.